Hey, what's up? Mark here from waycoolnews.net, welcoming you again to another very exciting toy review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the after-fight version of Apollo Creed from Neca's Rocky line. Featured on the top of the packaging is the title logo from the Rocky film. Inside the O is a silhouette of Rocky in an arms-up pose, taken from the classic scene where Rocky runs up the steps in front of the Philadelphia Museum of Art during a pre-fight jog. Apollo comes housed inside the blister bubble, posed in the same manner as the Rocky Balboa figure. It's not much of a fighter's pose and it's a tad bit generic, but as remarkable as this figure looks, it is easily forgivable. Once again, the semi-clear twist ties are laid across the body in two very visible locations, the chest and just above the kneecaps. Neca always seems to do a good enough job at producing the clear inner packaging that retains the figure well enough, so it has always puzzled me why they go so above and beyond with those twist ties. The packaging artwork displayed behind Apollo features a monochromatic style image of Rocky Balboa in a fighter's pose. To the left of that, the upward text reads Italian Stallion. Also in the lower right corner, we can see a collage of portraits showing Mickey, Rocky, Apollo Creed, Clubber Lang, and Ivan Drago. At the bottom of the packaging, alongside Apollo Creed's name, is a small skewed image of the movie's poster featuring Adrian and Rocky walking hand in hand. I've always personally liked this poster and thought it did a wonderful job at capturing the heart and emotion of the film. The back of the packaging features the movie title at the top, with the same Rocky arms up silhouette below that in red. Also on the back comes a synopsis-like bio for Rocky Balboa from the first film. I have to wonder why Neca didn't instead choose to write a bio for Apollo Creed, since it is him we're purchasing. Below that, there's a short paragraph letting us know that the Rocky saga has enjoyed 35 years of phenomenal success, and we can celebrate that by collecting all of the movie-accurate action figures including Rocky and some of his other infamous opponents. Advertised is the before fight or clean version of Apollo Creed, as well as clean versions of Rocky Balboa and Ivan Drago from the fourth Rocky film. Drago and Rocky are part of Series 2, which should hopefully be out sometime in June of this year. Apollo comes wearing trunks themed in stars and stripes. The paintwork of the red stripes are clear and concise. One thing to marvel at is how well Neca's paintwork follows the flow of the sculpt. The paint application of the stripes follow the contour of the ruffling in the trunks. The trunks are made of a thin, pliable plastic, but even with that, it still doesn't help exercise better articulation. I have to quickly note that some people have argued that Apollo's trunks should be more bloodstained for this after-fight version. So in an attempt to investigate whether or not there is any merit to this request, I've gone back and watched the fight between Apollo and Rocky. And in my findings, I found the blood to be obvious on Rocky's white trunks, but if there was any on Apollo's, it was not visible. In all fairness, I don't think adding blood to Apollo's trunks would have been accurate to the film. One area the paintwork on the trunks missed the mark is in the stars along the blue trim. On Apollo's right leg, there is a rather large gap in between the two stars in the front. This error might be forgivable if there was a large wrinkle separating the two stars, but there isn't. So instead we're left with what appears to be a missing star. Although we have found out that this is not a common problem and instead is just a case of bad luck on our part. The red, white, and blue theme is carried on into the socks and boots. The socks are perfectly textured, emulating the stretchable look of elastic. The majority of the boots are white with a touch of shading to help emphasize realism. It's the attention to detail in small areas like this that make it easy to see how committed Neca is to delivering quality products. Along with the neatly string-like textured sculpt of the boot tassels, the trim along the toe and sides, as well as the tongue of the boot, are all painted the same vibrant red used throughout the figure. That same red paint is used again on Apollo's gloves. There are a lot of standout qualities about this figure, but the sculpt work and the gloves are awesome. They are sized perfectly in great detail. The wrinkles really give you the impression that Apollo's hand is tightly balled into a fist inside the glove. Neca always shows how committed to accuracy they are with the patchwork on the gloves as well. The Casanova brand name is handsomely detailed, and it is really amazing how they are able to replicate the fine printing of those small words. Neca continues to do a great job by perfectly recreating the muscular definition of Carl Weathers as Apollo Creed. Some of the more standout qualities reside in the sculpt work of the legs, back, chest, and abdominal area. It is another amazing feat that the articulation in the abdomen did not interfere or take away from the sculpt of the figure. The remarkable paintwork that sits atop all this terrific sculpting is something to behold as well. The body takes a step towards realism by capturing and executing the correct skin tone of Apollo Creed. Oftentimes, toy companies have a bit of a trouble capturing the skin tone of black characters and misrepresent them with either too dark or too light of a paint job. However, that doesn't seem to be the case here. Along with that, there is a mixture of dry and glossy areas that do a wonderful job at creating the look of sweat. Seen in the chest, back, and arms, you can find areas that look flat and dry while being highlighted by a gloss that does a great job at conveying the look of pouring sweat down the body. Neca even goes further with the detail by adding Apollo Creed's chest hair, lightly speckled and not too dark of a black. Believe it or not, this is the sort of detail that made purchasing this figure a no-brainer for me. So now let's take a look at the head sculpt. The hair for this figure is nicely textured, while the shape of Apollo Creed's short afro helps enhance the realism of this figure. It's not a perfect circular shape that comes off looking artificial. Instead, it looks like it has actually taken its shape by real growth of human hair. The hair even lies over just the top of both ears. The facial expression is a perfect show of Apollo's character. It's an intense look coupled with anguish and arrogance. The eyes of Apollo are focused as he struggles to intently look beyond the lightly bloodied swelling around his eyes. The puffiness around the eyes does not come off as laughable or fake. The sculpt for the swelling was executed very well in my opinion. Apollo also comes sporting a sculpted mustache painted with the same black from the hair. There is a light coat of blood covering the mouth guard, as well as a bit of blood in the corner of Apollo's mouth. In an effort to once again create the look of sweat, there was a small amount of gloss added near Apollo's brow that carries down both sides of the face. Amongst the dry areas, it really does make it look like the figure is pouring sweat. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a closer look at the articulation for Apollo here. Now first with the head sculpt, the neck is sculpted a little bit forward, so he's already kind of got this kind of leaning, tired look. This is the damaged version, so he's a little bit later in the fight, so obviously he's tired. In the neck here, we can go all the way around. Apollo operates on a ball joint, so he can do some tilts left and right. And not as much upward as downward. He can go down more than he can up. Now looking at the shoulder here, yeah, he has the same articulation as Rocky. But man, these joints are really stiff. Trying to go in an outward motion, feel like you're fighting it. That's about as comfortable as I feel going in outward motion before I feel like I'm pressing it too far. Now it can rotate all the way around. At the elbow here, it has a swivel as well as a bend. Not too bad of a bend. Be cooler if they were double jointed. That way they could get really, really tight to the body. You know, if they really wanted to guard themselves really closely. But it's only single joint. Now in the glove here, we get a swivel. No upward or downward bend. Now here in the diaphragm, we get this torso joint. You can go down and upward, not as much. Kind of just gives it straight on. That's about as far as you can go back. So if you're leaning back, really, the lower back and the upper back
make contact. So about as far as you can go is just full on straight up. It can do a tiny bit of left and right, but not that much. Now there's no swivel at the waist or anything like that. You'd have to do it all in the diaphragm. So if you want to do kind of a haymaker pose, then it's all going to come from this diaphragm joint. Now at the leg here, you get a bit of a swivel. Not too bad. You can go all the way around. The knee offers a bend and a swivel too, it looks like. Now at the boot here, right towards the ankle, we get a swivel, go all the way around. We also get a bend, not much range of motion there. And we also get this toe articulation. But yeah, he's not too bad. Articulation isn't the best. But my God, does this look like Apollo Creed or what? This figure looks awesome. So what you lose in articulation, you definitely, come on, stay up. You definitely make up for it in terms of paint and sculpt. How can you hate looking at that figure? Looks great.
Overall, I am extremely pleased with how this figure came out. Neca continues to build the reputation upon great sculpts and paint detail. And while the articulation has room for improvement, I don't think it really is necessary. After all, these figures are made for display, not play. As far as I'm concerned, at this scale and price point, it is well worth the monetary value. These figures seem to be a little bit harder to find, but if you're a Rocky fan lucky enough to see one in your area, I highly recommend it. Be sure to check out our other review of the Rocky Balboa figure offered from the same Neca line as well. And for other great toy reviews, make sure you subscribe to us here on YouTube. If there is a particular figure you'd like to see us review, just drop a line in the comments section or send us a message. For WayCoolNews.net, I'm Mark, and this has been another Way Cool review.